For thousands of years, the galaxy lived in a comfortable lie. Every empire, every kingdom, every star nation repeated the same story in their books. Humans were only a myth. A strange, old tale whispered by dying civilizations. Something told around dim fires on cold nights. Something mentioned in dusty archives by scholars who enjoyed impossible stories. They said humans vanished 900 years ago after a great cosmic war that destroyed half the Orion Arm. Some believed humans died. Some believed humans ascended into pure energy. Some believed they never existed at all, just a legend born from fear. For centuries the galaxy felt safe believing humans were not real, because the idea of them being real was too terrifying. But everything changed in one moment. One silent beep. One alert. One message that spread through every communication network like lightning cutting through night. A single line flashed across thousands of star systems. Unknown fleet detected. Origin, human. At first, people laughed. Generals dismissed it. Scientists called it an error. Impossible, they said. Humans are not real. But their voices changed when the second message came. Then the third. And then 1,000 more, each one stamped with the same terrifying signature. Human. Across the galaxy, fear rose like a cold wind. Sensors malfunctioned without reason. Radars started jamming. Space traffic maps went dark. Some planets experienced sudden gravitational distortions, as if something giant, something ancient, something asleep for centuries had begun to move again. On the Council planet Zephyr Prime, ambassadors ran through bright metal halls in panic. Screens across the Council chamber flashed red. Unidentified fleet entering border space. Configuration unknown. Shields failing to scan. Energy signature unreadable. Panic spread. Voices cracked. Empires that once threatened each other now stood shoulder to shoulder in fear. In the middle of this rising chaos, the first speaker of the Galactic Council, a tall, silver-skinned Varelian named Sorunath, stood frozen. His long fingers trembled as he read the final line on the main display. Fleet is approaching. Estimated arrival, 52 seconds. Launch the defense rings, someone shouted. Activate border shields. Call the outer fleets. Prepare the planetary cannons. But nothing responded. It was as if all systems were holding their breath. As if the galaxy itself feared to make a sound. Then, everything went dark. All lights, all displays, all communications. Every ship, every planet, every satellite. A silence so heavy fell that even the air felt afraid to move. And then, from deep space, something arrived. A spark. A glow. A shape slowly emerging from the endless black like a creature rising from an ancient ocean. The first human warship. It moved with a calm, slow grace, like a predator that didn't need to run. Its armor was pure obsidian steel, blacker than any known metal. On its hull ran long glowing lines, blue, gold, red, moving like veins under living skin, pulsing with silent power. The ship itself was enormous. Larger than any Empire flagship. Longer than most space stations. It didn't fly like normal ships. It glided through space like it was part of it, bending light around its edges, warping gravity with every step. The galaxy watched in disbelieving silence. This cannot be real, whispered a council scientist. What material is that hull made of? Murmured another. Why can't we scan it? Where are their life signatures? Why is space bending around it? But no one could answer. And everyone felt the same cold truth spreading down their spine. This was not alien technology. This was something older. Something lost. Something powerful. Something human. As the ship came closer, the council's fear grew. But the ship did not fire. It did not broadcast a message. It did not even adjust its path. It simply moved, like it owned the stars. Then the second ship appeared. And the third. And the 50th. A full human fleet emerged from the void. Silent giants marching into the galaxy like forgotten gods returning from exile. Their engines made no sound. Their weapons remained dim. Their shields shimmered with invisible energy. Every alien world watched with holding breath. A single whisper began to spread across star systems. The legends were real. Children hid behind their parents. Soldiers gripped their rifles tighter. Commanders stared at tactical maps with trembling jaws. Whole planets shut down their skies. Empires sent emergency evacuation codes. Priests began last prayers. And still the human fleet came closer. The council chamber turned silent. Everyone stared at the giant screen showing the approaching armada. "What do they want?" whispered the ambassador from the Krell Dominion. "Why have they come back?" whispered the Tarian representative. Sorunatha's voice shook, barely above breath. Perhaps the stories were true. Humans never attack without reason. "Then what reason do they have now?" demanded another ambassador. No answer came, because no one knew. For 900 years, humans had been a ghost story. Now their warships, those impossible, ancient machines, were cutting through the galaxy like a nightmare walking on two legs. On the outer edges of council space, thousands of alien civilians gathered outside city domes, staring at the sky as streaks of black light flew overhead, the shadows of the massive human ships blocking stars as they passed. In military bases, alarms screamed non-stop. Entire fleets formed defensive lines. Captains yelled for status reports. Engineers tried to restart jammed systems. Nothing worked. It was as if human technology simply refused to acknowledge the galaxy existed. On the planet Cthera, a young cadet whispered while watching the warships from the training yard, "If these are the humans, how did anyone fight them before?" No answer. Only the sight of the warships slowly moving in perfect formation, like an army that never needed to hurry. And then the fear reached its peak when one of the human ships finally did something. It slowed down. Not stopped. Just slowed. But that was enough to make entire sectors panic. In the council chamber, lights flickered again. A single signal suddenly pierced through all comms. A small, simple sound. Beep. Then a voice. A human voice. Calm. Deep. Unhurried. It spoke only one line, permission to enter. The chamber fell silent. A silence so heavy it felt like the whole galaxy stopped breathing. A voice lost for centuries had returned. Real. Alive. Powerful. The council stared at Sorunath. "What should we do?" he whispered. "Answer them," someone breathed. "We must answer them." But before anyone could reply, the human voice spoke again. "We are coming in regardless." The screens shook. The ground vibrated. And the fleet advanced. Their engines ignited with a low, terrifying hum. The first sound they had made since appearing. A sound like the heartbeat of a giant waking from sleep. Councils across star systems began emergency procedures. Leaders argued. Scientists panicked. The galaxy scrambled to react. But it was too late. The humans had arrived. As the first human ship passed the border checkpoint, every automated defense system aimed at it. Cannons loaded. Missiles locked. Shields charged. But none fired. Not because they showed mercy, but because every machine in the galaxy shut down the moment the human ship crossed into council space. It was like the universe itself bent its head in respect, or fear. The warship glided forward, slow and unstoppable. On its hull, a long-forgotten emblem faintly glowed. The old Terran mark, 3 lines cutting through a circle. The symbol of ancient Earth. The council chamber filled with raw fear. Every alien heart felt the same freezing thought. If they wanted to destroy us, we would already be gone. And yet the humans said nothing more. No message. No attack. No threat. Just silent arrival. Silent movement. Silent pressure. The kind of silence that crushes mountains. The galaxy trembled like a child in the dark. Because legends had come to life. And legends never return without purpose. Somewhere deep inside that enormous obsidian warship, a human commander stood with both hands behind his back, staring at the stars in calm silence. His eyes were cold, determined, ancient. He whispered to himself, not knowing the galaxy would one day remember his words. "We warned them. We always warned them." Then he turned toward his crew. Begin Phase 1. And the human fleet moved as one, toward the very heart of the galaxy, toward the Council, toward their old enemies, toward the danger only humans understood. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. They only knew one thing: humanity had returned. And nothing would ever be the same again. Across the galaxy, fear spread like a cold storm. Every star system, every moon, every orbital city whispered the same question: why have the humans returned? No one had an answer, and that made the fear even worse. Empires that once bragged about their power now trembled like weak children. Armies that once believed they ruled the stars now hid behind shields that no longer worked. Even planets far away from Council space felt the shock waves of fear. Mothers held their children close. Soldiers cleaned their weapons with shaking hands. Commanders stared at their holographic maps, knowing none of it mattered. Nothing in the galaxy could stop those ships. On Zephyr Prime, the Galactic Council struggled to breathe as the human fleet moved deeper into their territory. In the massive chamber, hundreds of alien ambassadors argued and screamed over each other. "We must negotiate," one shouted. "Negotiate with what?" "They haven't spoken," another replied. "We must evacuate our worlds." "To way. We should attack now, before they reach the core." "Attack? Didn't you see what happened to the scanners? Our weapons won't even fire." Every second, panic grew heavier. But in the middle of this chaos, one ambassador remained quiet. A small, elderly creature from the ancient Valtor race named Arunsa. He was one of the few beings still alive who had studied the old records. The old stories. The old warnings. His voice trembled as he said, "Humans do not return without reason." The room turned silent. His words stabbed the chamber like a cold blade. "If they intended to destroy us," Arunsa continued, "they would have done it already. They are here for something else, something far worse." But no one wanted to hear that. Fear made everyone blind. On the border world of Cthera, a young cadet named Lara stood beside her father, General Tharo, on a cliff overlooking the sky. They watched the giant shadows of the human warships passing above, blocking out half the stars. Lara whispered, "Father, will they attack us?" Tharo did not answer. His jaw tightened. He was a strong, decorated general. But in that moment Lara saw something she had never seen in him: fear. Not fear of death. Not fear of war. A different fear. The fear a soldier feels when he realizes he is facing something beyond everything he ever trained for. Lara placed a hand on his arm. "Are the stories true?" Tharo closed his eyes, remembering something from his childhood. An old forbidden tale told by elders when they thought children were asleep. "The humans," he said quietly, "were not monsters. They were protectors. They fought something the galaxy should never see again." Lara frowned. "Then why return now?" Tharo looked at the sky, watching the enormous black ships move silently like ancient ghosts. "Because whatever they fought has returned too." Lara felt her throat tighten. She suddenly understood the fear spreading across the galaxy. The fear wasn't humans. The fear was what followed humans. She whispered, "Are we in danger?" Her father finally answered, "All of us are." On the distant moon of Orin 4, a small research station detected something terrifying. A star on the edge of the system flickered, then died. Not exploded. Not collapsed. It simply went dark, its light consumed by something invisible. The scientists began screaming for evacuation. "This is not possible. Stars don't die like this. Shut down the station. Now!" But it was too late. A black wave, silent, empty, full of hunger, spread across space and swallowed the moon in seconds. No sound. No explosion. Just darkness devouring matter. The last sensor reading displayed 2 words: Star Eater. That signal reached the human fleet instantly. Deep inside the command deck of the lead warship, the human commander, Admiral Renvale, stood with his arms folded behind his back. His expression didn't change when the alert appeared. He had expected this, feared this, trained for this. "Admiral," a human officer reported, Orin 4 is gone. Vale nodded slowly. How long until the wave reaches Kthira sector? 12 days. Vale closed his eyes. 12 days until an entire region died. 12 days until billions of lives vanished. 12 days until the galaxy realized the truth. Humans had not returned for glory or conquest. They returned out of necessity. Humanity had seen the darkness once before, and survived. But surviving had cost them everything. Vale spoke quietly, but his voice carried the weight of centuries. Increase fleet speed. Prepare Phase 2. Another officer hesitated. Sir, the aliens still think we are here to attack them. Vale's jaw tightened. They will learn the truth soon enough. He paused. His next words were soft but heavy with grief. We lost Earth 900 years ago. We will not lose the galaxy too. On Council Prime, frustration and fear reached a breaking point. Sorunath shouted, "We must stop them before they reach the capital." How? Someone screamed. Their ships bend light. Our cannons don't even turn on. We need answers. Suddenly, all lights went out again. The entire chamber froze. A hologram flickered in the center of the room, a map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared. 1, then 5, then 50. Each dot marked a star that had just died. And the pattern pointed toward the galaxy core. Panic exploded. What is happening? Why are stars dying? This is impossible. Arun Sah stepped forward, trembling but firm. They have returned, his voice cracked. Because we are all in danger. Sorunath grabbed him, desperate. What danger? The Ancient One, Arun Sah whispered. The enemy the humans fought. The one that eats light. Before he could say more, the council felt a sudden vibration beneath their feet. A deep, powerful hum filled the air, low, steady, terrifying. The sound of engines. The sound of the human fleet entering orbit above the capital planet. Every alien heart dropped. On the surface, civilians ran. Sirens screamed. Troops filled the streets. Children cried as dark shadows covered the skies. And then, one human ship descended lower. Its presence made the air itself tremble. It stopped above the council tower, silent and unmoving like a mountain hanging in the air. No one dared breathe. Then a signal connected. One voice echoed across the entire planet. Calm, cold, human. Do not fear. We are here to stop what follows us. The entire galaxy froze. Because the humans had finally spoken. And their message meant something far worse was coming. The type of danger only legends had survived. The type of danger only humans knew how to fight. And the galaxy realized the terrifying truth. Humanity did not return as conquerors. Humanity returned as the last shield between the stars and extinction. The moment the human voice echoed across the galaxy, everything changed. The fear in the streets, the panic in the council, the chaos in the skies, everything stopped for a heartbeat. Every alien, every soldier, every leader froze as if the universe itself whispered, "Listen." The voice had no anger, no pride, no threat, only calm determination. But that calmness was more terrifying than any roar. Because no one knew what kind of beings could speak with such control while holding the power to erase planets. On the council planet's capital, millions of citizens stared upward. The giant human warship floated above the skyline, silent, cold, unmoving, like a godship deciding the fate of the world. Mothers pulled their children close. Elderly citizens whispered old stories they once laughed at. Young soldiers tried to act brave but failed, their hands shaking on their rifles. Every eye watched the sky. Every heart beat fear. Inside the council tower, Sorunath struggled to remain standing. The sound of the human voice still vibrated in the walls. It felt like the echo of something ancient, a reminder of a forgotten warning. "Do not fear," the voice had said. But the entire galaxy was afraid anyway. Sorunath whispered, "Why would humans tell us not to fear? What is behind them? What danger follows them?" No one answered. Because no one knew the truth, except the humans. Meanwhile, Admiral Renvale stood at the command deck of the Terran warship, staring at the giant holomap of the galaxy. Red dots kept blinking, each one a dead star, each one devoured by the approaching darkness. Vale's eyes tightened. "Report." "Admiral," said the young officer beside him, voice shaking, "5 more stars have gone dark in the last hour." Vale exhaled slowly, like a man bearing the weight of an entire galaxy. "How long until the wave reaches populated worlds?" 9 days, maybe less. Vale closed his eyes. Images from 900 years ago flashed in his mind. Earth burning, cities collapsing, oceans rising, children screaming, the sky turning black as the first Star Eaters arrived. Humanity had survived, but barely. And the cost was almost everything. The fleet he commanded now was not a symbol of strength. It was a monument of sacrifice. "Prepare communication," Vale said. His crew quickly opened a channel to the Council planet. Every alien screen lit up at once. The image of Admiral Vale appeared, his sharp eyes, calm face, and old scars striking cold fear into every viewer. To aliens, humans always looked strange. Their eyes were too intense. Their expressions too controlled. Their presence too heavy. And this human carried the look of someone who had seen extinction and walked back from it. Vale spoke simply, "We come with warning, not war." His voice echoed across cities, ships, homes, and council chambers. No one dared interrupt. 900 years ago, we fought something that should never have existed. We survived. The galaxy survived because of us. And now, it has returned. Sorunath swallowed hard. "What has returned?" Vale gazed at him through the screen with an expression that carried centuries of pain. "The Star Eaters." Panic erupted instantly. Screams filled the chamber. Some ambassadors fainted. Others yelled, "Impossible. Those are only myths. Those creatures cannot exist." Vale's words crushed their voices. "They are real. We lost Earth to them." A deadly silence fell. Even the loudest leader could not speak. No one knew humans had lost their home. No one knew humanity had paid the ultimate price. Vale continued, voice low and heavy with sorrow. "We did not vanish. We retreated. We rebuilt. We prepared for their return." The entire galaxy listened in stunned silence. And now they have returned. They are consuming stars on the outer rim. Your defenses will not stop them. Sorunath's hands trembled. "If they are so powerful, why come here? Why warn us?" Vale's gaze softened, not with kindness, but with unbearable pain. "Because your galaxy will fall first." In the capital streets, a small alien boy hugged his mother tighter. "Mom, are we going to die?" The mother fought tears as the dark shadow of the human warship covered them. "I don't know, child. I don't know." Back in the council, Arun Sas stepped forward. He was shaking terribly but forced himself to speak. "Admiral Vale, the old stories say your people defeated the Star Eaters once." "We did," Vale replied softly. "But we lost almost everything doing it." "Then why come back?" Arun Sas whispered. "Why risk yourselves again?" Vale lowered his eyes for the first time. "Because we could not watch another galaxy burn." The council chamber went silent. The words carried more emotion than any alien expected. A species they feared was here to save them. Vale continued, "We are not your legends. We are not your myths. We are soldiers of a war you have forgotten. And now," he paused, voice cracking ever so slightly, "now you must stand with us." Across the galaxy, people watched with wide eyes. A mother whispered, "Humans came to protect us," a soldier murmured. "We feared them, but they fear something far worse." A child whispered, "Are humans heroes?" Vale's image flickered slightly and then returned sharper than before. The Star Eaters travel in a wave of darkness, a living shadow that consumes suns. They do not negotiate. They do not speak. They do not leave survivors. His jaw tightened. They only hunger. Sorunath felt his stomach twist. "How long do we have?" Vale looked at his star map. 9 days until they reach your first populated system. The entire chamber went cold. 9 days until entire worlds died. 9 days until history repeated itself. We must evacuate, someone screamed. Evacuate billions, another answered. We cannot. Vale raised a hand. Running will not save you. Fighting alone will not save you. Only unity will. He spoke with the certainty of a commander who had carried this burden for centuries. We will lead the defense. But you must trust us. The council shook in fear. Trust humans? Trust the species they believed was a myth? Trust the beings whose warships could erase planets? But they had no choice. Because the darkness was already coming. Suddenly, an alarm screamed in the human ship. Vale turned sharply. Report. A human officer shouted, Admiral. The next star, it just went dark. The hologram of the galaxy updated. Another red dot blinked. Another sun gone. Another system swallowed. Vale looked back at the council. His voice held a level of emotion the galaxy had never heard from a human. This is only the beginning. And in that moment, everyone finally understood. Humanity had not returned as enemies. Humanity had returned as the last hope before extinction. The galaxy felt smaller now, as if the stars themselves were shrinking under the weight of fear. News of the Star Eaters spread like fire. Whole planets stopped working. Schools closed. Markets went silent. People locked themselves inside their homes. And above every world, the shadows of the human warships continued moving, silent giants drifting through the sky like dark omens. Every species watched them with the same question, can they really save us? But no one asked the more painful question, what if they fail? On Zephyr Prime, the council prepared for another emergency meeting. The chamber air felt heavy, as if fear had weight. Sorunath stood by the main window, staring at the human flagship above the city. It hovered like a massive black mountain suspended in the heavens, its glowing veins pulsing slowly, rhythmically, like the heartbeat of a living creature. He whispered to himself, if these beings fall, we all fall. Meanwhile, Admiral Renvale walked through his flagship's war corridor, boots echoing softly on metallic floors. The lights flickered with deep blue and gold, colors of humanity's ancient insignia. Soldiers stood on both sides, staring at him with silent respect. Every face carried exhaustion, pain, memory, scars from a war no alien had ever seen. But Admiral Vale carried the deepest scar, losing Earth. As he stepped into the strategy chamber, the holographic galaxy hovered above the table. More stars were dark now. Too many. A young officer approached him, voice trembling, Admiral, 3 more systems lost. And 1 was inhabited. Vale inhaled sharply. That meant lives, millions of them, simply erased. No screams. No graves. No warning. Just silence. Any escape signals? He asked. The officer shook her head slowly. None, sir. Vale closed his eyes. Pain moved across his face like a shadow. He remembered Earth, children running in the streets, oceans blue and calm, the sky glowing warm orange. And then he remembered the moment the sky turned black. The moment the oceans boiled. The moment the continents cracked apart. Humanity's greatest wounds were still bleeding. Vale whispered, we cannot let that happen again. In the council tower, fear exploded into shouting again. You must attack the humans, someone yelled. Why would we attack the only ones fighting the enemy? Another replied. Because they brought the enemy here. If they hadn't returned, the Star Eaters would never come. We must force them to leave. Sorunath slammed his staff on the floor. Silence. The room froze. Sorunath spoke with a voice that carried both fear and reluctant admiration. You fools. The enemy was already coming. The humans returned because they are the only ones who survived it. No one moved. No one argued. Because deep inside, everyone knew he was right. But acceptance was never easy, especially when pride and survival collided. Suddenly, the entire chamber shook. Lights flickered, ground rumbled, alarms screamed. People fell to the floor. Screens cracked. Windows trembled. A sound echoed across the sky, a roar so deep it felt like space itself groaned. Sorunath shouted, "What was that?" An aide screamed, "Something is entering the system. Something enormous." Cameras switched to the sky view. The entire planet gasped. A massive black wave was spreading through space, dark, twisting, hungry, moving like a shadow with 1,000 tendrils. It wasn't the Star Eaters themselves, just their front ripple. The leading edge of destruction. Even that ripple was enough to shake worlds. Civilians ran. Children cried. Troops screamed into comms. And then, as the wave approached Zephyr's orbit, the human flagship moved. It slid forward slowly, silently, like a giant shielding a child. The shadow of the human ship covered half the city. Inside the flagship, Admiral Vale's eyes turned hard. "Activate counterbarriers." "Yes, sir." Hundreds of human engineers and officers rushed into position. Massive beams of shimmering blue energy formed around the ship, creating a shield bubble that wrapped the entire planet, not just the ship. The aliens watched in disbelief. "They're defending us. They're protecting the whole planet." "But why? Why help us?" Admiral Vale opened the comm to every world in the system. His voice echoed across continents. "Do not panic. This is only the Star Eater's outer wave. Stand behind our shield." The darkness hit the shield like a tidal wave slamming into a cliff. The entire planet trembled. Buildings shook. Seas rippled. Skies turned black for a moment. Alien civilians screamed as they watched the wave crash against the glowing human barrier. But the barrier held. For the first time in history, the galaxy saw a human shield absorb the full force of a cosmic monster's presence. Vale stood still, hands behind his back, staring at the trembling hologram as the wave weakened. "Status?" he asked calmly. "Shields at 82%. Damage?" "Minimal, sir." Vale nodded, but his eyes held no relief. "Prepare for the next wave." Back in the council chamber, the ambassadors stared at the sky in stunned silence. The giant human shield shimmered like a glowing dome above the clouds. Sorunath felt a shiver run through his spine. "They saved us," Arunsar, the old historian, whispered. "They have always been the shield. We were simply too blind to see." Meanwhile, on the streets below, a young alien child held his mother's trembling hand. The sky was dark but safe now. "Memar, the humans, they protected us." The mother wiped her tears with shaking fingers. "Yes, they did." The child whispered softly, "Then humans are not monsters." The mother shook her head slowly. "No, child, they are something far greater." Back on the flagship, Vale received a private report. "Admiral, the second wave will be stronger. We may need to reveal the primordial weapon." Vale's face darkened. He hated that weapon. It was the last insane creation of a dying Earth, a weapon built from fear, sacrifice, and desperation. Using it meant revealing the darkest secret humanity had left. Vale whispered, "Only if we have no choice." Then he turned toward the star map, toward the darkness creeping across the galaxy. His voice was low and filled with emotion. "We stopped one wave today, but the real enemy is still far behind. And when it arrives, the galaxy will understand why humans disappeared." Outside his ship, the darkness faded. The sky brightened. The planet lived another day. But deep in the cold void, the Star Eaters kept moving forward, hungry, silent, unstoppable. And Admiral Vale knew the truth. This is just the beginning. The galaxy did not sleep that night. Even planets far from danger could feel something deep in space moving like a cold beast dragging its claws across the stars. The first darkness wave had been stopped by the human shield, but everyone knew it was only a warning. The real storm had not arrived yet. Every alien world, every council hall, every home replayed one thought. If the first wave was this strong, what will happen when the real enemy comes? Above Zephyr Prime, the human flagship continued to hover, its glowing shield still faintly visible in the atmosphere. Civilians from below stared at it with new eyes. Hours earlier they saw humans as nightmares. Now they saw them as their only hope. Inside the flagship, Admiral Renvale stood at the center of the strategy chamber, surrounded by maps of dying stars. The red dots on the hologram kept blinking faster now. One more system gone. Another devoured. Another dark. Every blink represented entire families, entire civilizations, entire histories erased like they never existed. Vale's fingers tightened behind his back. His jaw set hard. He had seen this pattern before, the slow, creeping death that swallowed Earth. A young officer approached him carefully. "Admiral, we detected something new." Vale turned. "Show me." The hologram zoomed into the outer rim of the galaxy. A massive ring of black distortion moved through space, twisting everything behind it. But at the center of that ring, something was forming. Shapes. Shadows. Massive entities swimming through the void like giant creatures made of hunger. The officer whispered, "Sir, are those the real Star Eaters?" The room grew silent. Vale exhaled slowly, a painful breath he had held for centuries. "Yes. This time, they are coming themselves." In the council tower, panic was returning. Sorunath tried to calm the ambassadors but failed. Voices filled the chamber. "We cannot survive this. Our weapons cannot hurt those creatures. The humans will abandon us. They protected us once. Maybe they will leave now. What if the humans cannot win?" Arun Sar stepped forward again, voice shaking but firm. "The humans stayed. They saved us from the first wave. They did not run when they saw the enemy. They did not demand anything. They did not ask for tribute. They only warned us. They only protected us." But fear made the council blind again. Sorunath shouted above their noise, "Enough! We must speak with Admiral Vale. Now!" The council opened communication. Admiral Vale's hologram appeared. But this time he looked even older, even heavier, as if the weight of the approaching darkness had begun carving lines deeper into his face. Sorunath spoke first. "Admiral, we saw the new disturbance. Is that the true enemy?" Vale nodded slowly. "Yes. The creatures themselves. Their full form. Their full power. Can your fleet stop them?" Sorunath asked. The entire chamber held its breath. Vale did not answer immediately. His silence was more terrifying than any words. Finally, he said, "We will fight. We will hold as long as possible. But alone, no." The council froze. Vale continued, "Our fleet is strong. Our shields are ancient. Our weapons were made from the last fire of Earth. But the Star Eaters evolve, grow. Each cycle they become harder to kill." Fear sharpened across every face. Arun Sar whispered, "Then why face them? Why return to this galaxy? Why risk everything again?" Vale's eyes lowered with emotion. "Because 900 years ago, when Earth was burning and billions were dying, a small group of alien refugees from this galaxy reached us. They begged for help. We helped them. We saved them. And before they left, they said something we never forgot." Vale paused. The officer beside him activated an old recording, a faint, broken voice from centuries ago. "If our galaxy ever falls, humanity will return." The council chamber went cold. The ambassadors stared, shocked, speechless, emotional. Sorunath whispered, "So you came back, because of a promise?" Vale nodded. "A promise we made when we had already lost everything." An emotional silence spread. Even the coldest leaders felt a weight inside their chest. Suddenly, alarms exploded inside the council hall. Sharp, violent, endless. A hologram appeared above the table. A massive shadow was approaching the system. One of the smaller Star Eater scouts. Not the full beast, but still powerful enough to erase entire moons. Sorunath whispered in horror, "It's coming here." Vale's voice hardened into command. "All defensive engines online. Prepare civilians for shelter. Keep your ships out of the way. We will handle this." The council listened. For the first time, they obeyed without question. Above Zephyr Prime, the human flagship moved forward with silent power. Dozens of human warships aligned beside it, forming an unbreakable wall. Their glowing vanes brightened. Their dark hulls shifted into battle mode. The air across the planet vibrated softly, like the sky was preparing for war. Hundreds of alien citizens watched with wide eyes. Inside the flagship, Vale stood in front of the main viewing screen. The incoming shadow grew larger, its outline twisting unnaturally, its presence draining light around it. The room seemed to darken as if space itself feared it. Officers whispered, "Its energy signature is changing. It's stronger than the first wave. It's learning from our shield." Vale felt his heart tighten. So, the evolution begins. The Star Eater scout burst from the darkness, a creature of pure void. It had no true shape, only moving masses of shadow and light, bending space with every pulse. When it screamed, the sound tore through comms like a dying star crying out. Civilians on the planet covered their ears. Some fell to their knees. Children cried in fear as the creature eclipsed the sky. Vale raised his hand. Fire! The human fleet unleashed beams of piercing white energy, weapons built from ancient singularities. The beams cut through space, striking the creature with violent force. But the creature absorbed the energy like water swallowing stones. It twisted, roared, and expanded its mass. It was growing. The officers panicked. "Admiral, it's adapting too fast. Its mass is increasing. It's feeding on our energy." Vale's jaw tightened. "Switch to pulse cannons. Aim for its center." The fleet fired a second barrage, massive shock pulses that cracked the darkness. This time the creature shrieked, splitting open like a dark flower tearing in pain. It recoiled, but did not fall. It charged. The battlefield shook. Shadow slammed into the human shield. The sky over Zephyr flickered. The entire planet trembled. Vale's voice cut through the chaos, "Hold the line." The humans fought with a fury the galaxy had never witnessed. But the creature kept pushing, growing, learning, changing. Vale whispered to himself, "Just like Earth." His fist tightened. "Not again." Then the call came from the lower deck. "Admiral, we must use the primordial weapon." Vale froze. Everyone looked at him. The primordial weapon was forbidden. A remnant from Earth's last day. A weapon built not from science, but from desperation. Using it meant revealing humanity's darkest secret. Using it meant risking everything. Vale closed his eyes. He remembered the last moments of Earth. The screams. The fire. The sky turning black. The world dying. He opened his eyes. Determination replaced fear. Prepare the primordial weapon. On the planet below, the sky flashed white. Aliens gasped. Some prayed. Some fainted. Some ran. Some simply stared with tears in their eyes. Because the humans had just activated something ancient, something powerful, something terrible. Vale stepped forward, his voice quiet, emotional, unbreakable. For Earth, and for every world that cannot defend itself. Then he gave the order. Fire the primordial weapon. And the galaxy held its breath. The galaxy held its breath when Admiral Vale gave the order. Every human officer went silent. Every alien on the planet froze. Even the sky seemed to pause, waiting for the moment that would decide life or death. The primordial weapon, the darkest creation of humanity, was awakening. Far beneath the human flagship, buried inside a sealed chamber that no alien had ever seen, ancient metal rings began to rotate. Blue fire lit the walls. Symbols older than most galaxies glowed like waking scars. The weapon was alive again after 900 years of silence. Admiral Vale stood on the command deck, his eyes fixed on the massive creature outside. The Star Eater scout twisted and expanded, its shadow stretching like claws across space. Every second it grew stronger, learning from human attacks, feeding on light. The human shield around Zephyr flickered dangerously. Civilians screamed. Buildings shook. Oceans rippled with unnatural waves. Vale whispered, "We cannot let our fear shape the outcome. This time, we fight until the end." Inside the primordial chamber, a human technician's voice trembled through comms. Admiral, weapon charge at 40%. Energy levels rising faster than expected. Stabilize it, Vale said. If it overloads now, we lose everything. Trying, sir, but the weapon is resisting control. The weapon itself was fighting back. It remembered Earth. It remembered the last day. It remembered the moment it was used for the first and only time. On Zephyr Prime, citizens gathered in the streets despite the danger. They looked up at the sky, watching the enormous creature tearing through the shield. A young alien girl, barely 8 years old, held her mother's shaking hand. "Mema, are the humans going to die?" Her mother swallowed the knot in her throat. I don't know." Tears filled the child's eyes. "But they're fighting for us." The mother hugged her tightly. "Yes, my love. They are." In the council tower, Sorunath watched the battlefield feed with wide eyes filled with terror and awe. The human ships, those dark giants with glowing veins, were firing non-stop, but the creature kept advancing. Every time they wounded it, it healed. Every time they pushed it back, it grew larger. Arun Sa whispered, "This enemy, it feeds on existence itself." Sorunath closed his eyes, his voice trembling. "And yet the humans still stand." On the flagship, the ship's hull groaned under pressure. Warning lights flashed red. Officers shouted status updates. Shields at 60%. Hull temperature rising. "We cannot hold much longer." Vale remained calm. Pain flickered in his eyes, but he stood tall like a man made of iron memories. "Weapon charge. 70%, Admiral. Increase cooling vectors. Redistribute power." "Sir, if we redistribute any more, our engines may shut down." "Do it. The weapon must fire. That is our only chance." The Star Eater scout unleashed a wave of dark energy. It slammed into the human shield like a tidal burst of night. The shield cracked. The sky over Zephyr lit up with violent lightning. Buildings shook. Windows shattered. Thousands fell to the ground in terror. A massive shockwave spread across the planet. The shield cracked again, louder, deeper. It was going to break. Vale clenched his fist. "Hold," the creature roared, a sound that shattered airwaves. Aliens miles away covered their ears, crying in pain. Human officers fought to stay on their feet. Vale narrowed his eyes. "Hold." The creature slammed the shield again. The entire planet trembled. Mountains groaned. Seas split. And then, the shield shattered. A blinding flash ripped across the sky. Civilians screamed. Leaders cried out. Officers gasped. But Vale didn't move. His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Fire the primordial weapon. Now." Inside the sealed chamber, the ancient weapon roared awake. Blue fire turned white. White fire turned gold. Gold fire turned into something the universe had no name for. A beam of pure creation and pure destruction formed, shaking the entire flagship. The weapon unleashed. The beam tore out of the flagship like a newborn sun screaming into existence. It crossed space in one heartbeat, striking the Star Eater scout straight in its center. The creature shrieked, a scream so deep it felt like reality itself broke. Its shadows twisted violently. Its body convulsed. Its tendrils burned like dying stars. The creature reeled back, its form splitting open with white cracks of pain. It had never felt this kind of attack. No one ever had. This was a weapon built from humanity's last breath, last hope, last heartbreak. The beam continued burning through the creature. But the creature refused to die. It wrapped its shadows around the beam, feeding, consuming, resisting. Officers panicked. "Admiral, the weapon is losing power. The creature is absorbing the energy. We need more output." Vale gritted his teeth. "Divert engine power. Divert shield power. Divert life support if needed. Everything to the weapon." "Sir, that could kill us." "It will kill us anyway if we don't stop it." The ship groaned again, metal screaming like a wounded beast. Lights flickered. Systems overheated. But the beam intensified. The creature roared louder, its shape unraveling. The sky above Zephyr lit like a second sun had risen. The people watched with awe and terror. The little alien girl clung to her mother. Mema, the humans, they're fighting the dark. Her mother whispered through tears, yes, and they're burning for us. The creature shrieked again, its body fracturing like cracked glass. And then, a massive explosion of white and black erupted. Light swallowed darkness. Darkness swallowed light. And then everything went silent. The battlefield went still. The sky dimmed. The creature was gone. The Star Eater scout had been erased. Inside the flagship, alarms blared. Officers gasped for breath. Sparks flew from panels. Smoke filled the air. Vale gripped the metal railing, chest rising and falling heavily. Report. Admiral, weapon is offline. Damage to the ship. Heavy, sir. But we're alive. Crew casualties. Minimal. Vale exhaled, a deep, painful release. But then the technician stammered with fear. Admiral, something else. Vale turned sharply. What? The holographic galaxy zoomed out, revealing something horrific. The main Star Eater swarm was accelerating, and the destruction wave had changed direction. It was coming straight toward the human fleet. Vale's blood ran cold. They felt the weapon. The officer nodded. Yes, sir. Vale whispered, voice heavy with dread. And now they are coming for us. The moment the creature died, the galaxy finally took a breath. But that breath was short, thin, and full of terror. Because as soon as the Star Eater scout vanished, the main swarm changed direction. Not slowly, not gradually, instantly, like a hungry predator recognizing the scent of prey. Admiral Ren Vale's eyes widened as the hologram updated with hundreds of red massive distortions moving with terrifying speed. They felt the primordial weapon, he whispered. And now they are coming straight for us. The officers around him went pale. Even the bravest soldiers felt their stomach twist. One officer stepped forward with a trembling voice. Admiral, how long until they reach Zephyr system? The answer came from the tactical AI, cold and merciless. Estimated time, 32 hours. 32 hours until destruction. 32 hours until billions died. 32 hours until the galaxy ended, unless the humans stood between death and the stars again. Vale looked at the map with heavy eyes. The swarm was moving faster than anything known. Not even human warp engines could outrun them. Can we intercept them before they reach the system? Vale asked. Negative, the AI responded. Swarm velocity increasing. Their path is locked on our weapon's energy signature. The painful truth hit everyone. The Star Eaters weren't hunting the galaxy. Not right now. They were hunting the humans. Vale exhaled slowly as realization slid across the room like a cold shadow. They want revenge. But revenge wasn't the only reason. Arunsa, watching from the council chamber, whispered in horror. They see the humans as the only threat. They want to kill our protectors first. Sorunatha's voice broke as he stared at the sky. If humanity falls, we all fall. Back in the human flagship, technicians rushed to repair damaged systems. Sparks flew. Metal groaned. Oxygen vents hissed. But the human crew remained calm, moving like veterans who had lived through this nightmare before. Every face carried determination. Every pair of eyes carried memories of a fallen Earth. Vale stepped into the engineering deck. A senior engineer approached, covered in grease and sweat. Admiral, we're doing everything we can, but the primordial weapon drained our central grid. We're running on emergency power. How long before we can fire again? Vale asked. The engineer met his eyes with a painful expression. Hours? Maybe a day? Admiral, the weapon needs time. Time we don't have. Vale turned away, jaw clenched. He already knew the answer. He already knew the cost of that weapon. Understood. Keep me updated. As Vale returned to the command deck, A young officer hesitated before speaking. "Sir, if the swarm reaches us like this, we won't survive." Vale faced him calmly. "We will not run. We stand where we are needed." The officer swallowed hard. "Even if it kills us?" Vale looked at him with eyes full of 9 centuries of guilt and fire. "We lost Earth because we weren't fast enough. We won't let another world burn." In the council, chaos reignited. Some ambassadors screamed that they should flee the planet immediately. Others demanded the humans leave so the swarm would follow them away. Others accused the humans of bringing doom. "This is their fault," one shouted. "They provoked the enemy using that cursed weapon. We must force them to leave our space. Send them away or we die." Sorunath roared over the noise. "Silence. If the humans leave, the swarm will destroy them first, and then come for us anyway. We are alive only because they fought." But fear made the council irrational. Some demanded evacuation. Some demanded surrender. Some demanded impossible miracles. Only Arun-Sa spoke with trembling wisdom. "We must trust them. If humanity falls, the galaxy will never survive what follows." Back on the planet, the people felt the tension rising like heat under their skin. Civilian shelters opened. Sirens echoed through cities. Families packed what little they could. A father picked up his crying son, whispering, we're safe," even though he knew he was lying. In the streets, lights flickered again as unknown energy pulses rippled across space. A small alien boy stared at the sky, hoping to see the human ships still there. When he found them, he smiled faintly. "Mema." The humans stayed. His mother held him close. Yes, they stayed. Inside the flagship, Vale received the worst update yet. "Admiral, the swarm split into 3 groups." 3. "Yes, sir. One heading directly toward us. One circling the star. One moving toward the outer colonies in the system." That meant the Star Eaters intended to attack from multiple directions. Their intelligence was evolving. Their strategy was becoming cruel. Vale spoke in a cold voice, "Prepare all ships for full engagement. All hands battle ready." An officer swallowed. "Admiral, do we have any reinforcements?" Vale shook his head. "Humanity is alone." The room fell silent. The officers glanced at each other. Despite their fear, not a single one stepped back. Not a single one questioned the fight. Not a single one asked to run. They straightened their shoulders and stood ready. Humanity may have been broken once, but their spirit, their fire, had never died. Vale quietly said to himself, "We face this darkness again. Not because we want to, but because we must." On Zephyr Prime, Vale's face appeared on every public screen. Civilians halted. Troops stopped marching. Children looked up with tear-filled eyes. Vale spoke with soft determination. "We will stand between you and the swarm. You must stay calm. Protect your families. Trust us. Humanity does not abandon those who cannot fight." Many aliens cried hearing those words. They had always feared humans. Now humans were becoming their shield. Back on the ship, Vale stood before the viewing window. The stars ahead began to distort. The darkness approached like a living storm. The first wave of the swarm appeared, towering shapes, massive shadows, swirling tendrils of void energy. They stretched across half the horizon like a wall of death. The human fleet moved forward, small compared to the swarm but glowing with ancient power. Each human ship activated combat mode, hulls expanding, weapons glowing, energy veins pulsing brighter. Vale whispered, "Earth, guide us." The officers stared as the swarm roared, a deafening vibration that shattered comms, bent radar, and shook the ship. But the humans did not flinch. Something passed across the human fleet, an unspoken feeling. Not courage, not pride. Something deeper, something older. The readiness to die for those who could not fight. Vale raised his hand. "All ships, advance." The humans charged toward the darkness. The swarm charged toward the light. Both sides collided in an explosion that shook the entire star system. and the final war had begun. The moment the human fleet collided with the Star Eater swarm, space itself shook. Light twisted. Darkness roared. The sky around Zephyr Prime turned into a battlefield of impossible forces. Blue human energy beams slicing through the void, black tendrils snapping like whips of night, explosions lighting up dead stars. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Admiral Ren Vale stood on the command deck, face hard, eyes fixed on the nightmare outside. Human ships fired with every weapon they had, pulse cannons, singularity beams, gravity charges, but the Star Eaters kept coming. Each creature was a living storm of shadow, feeding on energy, growing stronger with every hit. But the humans fought anyway. Not because they believed they would survive, but because they refused to let anyone else die. The flagship shook violently as a tendril slammed into its hull. Officers stumbled. Panels sparked. Smoke filled the air. A young officer cried out, "Admiral! Portside hull breach." Vale didn't blink. "Seal it. Continue forward." Another explosion rocked the ship. Shields down to 30%. Vale gritted his teeth. "Divert all auxiliary power. Keep them alive." Outside, a human destroyer took a direct hit. Its hull cracked open like a wounded whale bleeding light. Yet instead of retreating, it turned its engines toward the swarm and rammed straight into the largest creature, detonating its core. A massive explosion lit up half the battlefield. 2 creatures shattered. The destroyer was gone, but so was part of the swarm. On the planet below, thousands of aliens stood on rooftops, valleys, hills, mountains, watching the sky tear open with fire and darkness. A child cried, "Mama, they're dying." The mother held him close, tears streaming. "They're fighting for us, love, all of them." Another alien, an elderly man, whispered while watching the human ships burn. "They are not legends, they are guardians." In the council tower, Sorunath and Arunsar watched the live battle feed with trembling breaths. One of the ambassadors whispered, "Why do they fight so hard?" Arunsar wiped his old eyes. "Because they know what happens if we lose." Sorunath whispered, voice cracking, "And because this time, they are not fighting for Earth. They are fighting for us." Back in space, the swarm pushed harder. A massive shockwave of darkness slammed into the human line, throwing ships like toys. 3 cruisers fell at once. A human officer screamed, "Admiral, the front line is collapsing." Vale's eyes sharpened. "Then we form a new one." A giant creature, 10 times larger than the rest, rose from the swirling void. Its tendrils stretched like the fingers of a god of hunger. Its mouth opened wide, a swirling vortex of black flame. Vale froze. Not from fear, recognition. "That one," he whispered. "I know that one." Officers turned to him. "Sir." Vale's voice dropped low, filled with ancient pain. "This is the same creature that swallowed Earth's sun." Silence filled the deck. Even the ship seemed to hold its breath. The creature screamed, a sound that made the stars tremble. Black lightning cracked through space. Human shields cracked like thin glass. Vale whispered, "Earth, you watch us now." Then he raised his hand. "Prepare the primordial weapon for manual override." The officers froze in horror. "Sir, that will kill the ship. We may lose everyone on board." "We don't have the power," Vale cut through them. "Do it." Deep inside the flagship, the primordial chamber came alive again. But this time the weapon shook violently, its core unstable, its energy screaming like a beast chained too long. The technician shouted into the comm, "Admiral, weapon charging, but it's draining the life support systems." Vale's reply was soft but unbreakable. "Let it." Lights on the ship dimmed. Hallways darkened. Oxygen levels dropped. Officers gasped for air. But no one left their post. This was humanity's final stand. The creature saw the weapon charging. It roared again and raised its massive tendrils, ready to strike the flagship and destroy humanity's last hope. Vale whispered, "Not this time." The beam burst free. This blast was stronger, brighter, fiercer, like the dying breath of a star. It hit the giant creature square in its core. The creature convulsed, shadow peeling off its form like burning paper. Its roar shook systems. Space cracked with white fire. Its tendrils began to fall apart. But the creature did not die. It fought that it consumed half the beam. That it grew larger. The ship alarm screamed. Admiral, we can't hold this. The weapon is burning the ship from inside. Vale's voice was steady. Hold. On the planet, people watched the beam stretch across the heavens like a burning spear of light. They fell to their knees, praying, crying, shouting the same word, humans. The creature lifted its tendrils for a killing strike, and Vale whispered one final command, release the core. Every officer froze in shock. Sir, no. But it was too late. Vale pressed the final override with his own hand. The primordial chamber exploded not outward, inward. The flagship became a collapsing star of white-blue fire. A supernova of human technology ripped itself apart, consuming the ship and everything inside it. But before the explosion completed, the blast shot forward, combining with the beam, magnifying, multiplying, roaring like a newborn sun. The creature screamed, cracked, split, and finally, shattered. The biggest Star Eater died, but so did the flagship. The explosion spread silently across space, tearing through dozens of smaller creatures. Human ships were thrown back by shockwaves. Alarms echoed. Flames burst across decks. The flagship was gone. Only burning fragments floated where Admiral Vale once stood on the planet. The sky turned white. Silence fell. Every alien stared upward, unable to breathe. A child whispered, "Mama, did we win?" The mother sobbed, holding him tight. "We're alive, love, we're alive." In the council tower, Sorunath collapsed into his chair, tears falling. He sacrificed himself. Arun San nodded slowly. He gave his life, so we could keep ours. Human ships limped back into formation. Burning, broken, but still flying. Then a signal came through. Weak, glitching, almost fading. It was a voice. A familiar one. Vales. This is not the end. Every human officer froze. Every alien leader stared. Every ship's crew held their breath. The voice repeated, "The main swarm is still coming." Static consumed the signal. The screen went black, and the galaxy realized this victory was only the first round. The real war had just begun.